I don't know what your capacities for mystery are. One of the reasons there are different theologies in the world, let's just use some names here, Calvinism and Arminianism. One of the reasons there are divisions like that, there are many reasons, but one is capacities for mystery. I remember being in seminary and being told by some people who didn't like where the class was going in theology, that you Calvinists are just logic choppers. You're so precise, you're so rational, you just try to force God into your boxes. And I would listen, because I went to seminary as a non-Calvinist. I went to seminary as a flaming free-willer. You may have heard me tell the story. I was standing in front of Jim Morgan one day after he had argued about the sovereignty of God, and I held up in front of his face like this, my pen, and I dropped it. I said, I dropped it! Like that proved it. Like, I'm in charge. I have a will, for goodness sakes. Don't tell me God's in charge of that. I dropped it. Well, I changed before the end of that class. But that's where I came. That's where I came. I was that. And so when they said to me, oh, you Calvinists are just logic choppers forcing God into your little boxes, I was thinking, I don't think it's that way. It looks to me like the Calvinists are asking me to believe imponderable mysteries, and the other group has their boxes. Don't want to offend anybody. Yeah, I do, but I don't want to alienate anybody. So let me illustrate with this email. What I mean is, everybody I have ever talked to about this who disagrees with me argues largely from it cannot be, and so the text can't mean that. Instead of saying the text sure looked like they mean that, so it must be, and there's something wrong with my head. That's the way I think. I see what's in the text, and I say my head's the problem. It's too small, it's too self-centered, it's too something, but I'm the problem, not the Bible. Whereas others come and they have their convictions, like, if that were true, there'd be no free will. Ergo, it can't mean that. I say, that's a box. That's squeezing God in your free will box. It's never been my experience that the Calvinists are the logic choppers and the box fitters. It's that the Calvinists seem to be the people who see text and say, I don't get it, but there it is. It's just there. And I've got to bow. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. I wept for a whole semester in college when I was 22 years old because my life was falling apart. My Sunday school theology was falling apart. And when your paradigms fall apart, it hurts. There's emotional terror almost inside that what you thought could be wrong. So last year I got this email from somebody that had just gone to a conference with a philosopher, and I'm not going to give you his name. I'm not going to give you any names. If you want to know the philosopher's name, I might tell you if you ask me in the break, because I don't think it's any secret, but in this setting it might not be appropriate. So listen to this. This week I spent time with blank. So this philosopher teaches an evangelical seminary. He does not like Calvinism too much. He began to talk about how the mass majority of the exegetes, now that's Bible people, Bible interpreters, as opposed to philosophers, that the exegetes adopt Calvinistic interpretations while the mass majority of philosophers and apologists opt for Arminianism. We came to some fascinating conclusions, all of which I will not share, but he did say, quote, it is true, Calvinists have the exegesis behind them, but we have philosophy. And I think libertarianism, that means free will understood as self-determination, I think libertarianism trumps exegesis and must determine it. I said to him, so we have to bring our theology to the text? Answer, yes, he responded. The ethical implications of Calvinism are too severe. So a major evangelical philosopher says the exegesis is on the side of the Calvinists, philosophy is on the side of the Arminians, and you have to bring your philosophy to the text. Otherwise, the conclusions you draw are too severe. Now, I do not think that way. And you just need to know that. If I see something that feels too severe, I cry, I struggle. I may not preach it right away. I talk to people. I just try, God, help me, please. I am not going to rise up over your word. I'm not going to rise up over your word and tell this book what it has to mean. I mean, that's what liberals have done forever. Picking and choosing from Jesus what teachings they like and what they don't, or picking from Ezekiel 16 what part you like and what part you don't. You know what happens if you do your theology that way? It's just a reflection of your culture or your family or yourself. It's not, whereas there's a glorious freedom if you're willing to live with tension and live with mystery. There's a glorious freedom in just taking the Bible for what it, after very rigorous effort, is meaning. So that's my email. Now here's my story. I decided in I think it was 80, I wrote it down, 87. I could give you her name, or I have it right here. She still goes to my church. Her husband, I decided to preach a series on the minor prophets. And so I was going to do one sermon per prophet. And I did it. That's online somewhere. Everything I've ever said is online somewhere. And so I did it, and so the sermon in October of 1987 was on Malachi. And I said, now what am I going to say about Malachi? Got one sermon for the whole book, 4 chapters. And I put in the bulletin chapter 1, verses 1 to 5. Because I do believe it does set up the book to understand the whole book. So I knew I'm going to preach a message that has in it the sentence, Jacob, I loved you, so I hated it, and it's going to be hard. I've been there 7 years at this church. All the changes theologically and ecclesiologically have not happened that I wanted to happen. So I got a lot of people out there not on board with where I am. And so I'm going to preach this, and I'm just pleading with the Lord, make it edifying, make it helpful. And that morning, just before the first service, this woman's husband collapses and dies at church. I hear about it as I come out of the first service, that she's gone with the ambulance to the hospital, and the word is, he's dead. And I take a deep breath and say, God, what am I going to do now? Should we just not have service? Should I have a season of prayer? I've never faced this before as a pastor. Everybody knows this man. The word's spreading quickly. We have a second service coming. And I've got half an hour to make a decision about how to do it. And I decided, okay, I will begin the service by telling everybody what happened and praying for his wife, who is down at the hospital. And that's what we did. We started. It was an unbelievably heavy moment. Couldn't believe that he was gone. And we were all interceding for his wife for a few minutes. And then the service proceeded pretty much as usual. And we don't do chipper services at Bethlehem, so that was not a problem. We do serious services. So I didn't have to cancel all the jokes and all the skits. Because we don't do jokes and skits. And as the sermon is approaching, she walks into the balcony. There's a balcony. I see her right now. She walked into the balcony and sits on the front pew of the balcony. Her husband is dead as of half an hour ago. And everything in me said, what are you doing here? To hear Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. And so I did another mental calculation. Like, what should I do? And I said, God knows what's going on here. He planned the sermon. He took the man. He brought her back for a reason. He knows. Preach what you had with the greatest gravity you can think of. So I did. Pretty much the kind of thing we're talking about right here. Mystery, opposition, unconditional election, all those things. There it is. Just laid it out. And when I was done, I'm shaking people and she's disappeared and I'm wondering, almost everybody's gone. And she comes up to me. And I just, squeezed her and cried. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your husband. I named him. And she said, I know. And I looked at her and I said, you came back for worship. And she said, I had to hear the word of God. I had to hear the word of God. And thank you for a big God and putting a rock under my feet. That's been my experience over and over again. That people, when the winds are about to tip your boat over, like the wind of your husband having just been taken away. I would guess they were in their late 40s. You need ballast in your boat. That's what I was trying to say last night, that sometimes it's just the bigness of a great and mysterious and weighty God that is a place to stand.